Just 1 second. They're on the elevator. There we go. Well, good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the Small Business Development Committee. A little brisk morning this morning as we were coming to the Capitol. Anyway, we're about to have two presentations today and looking forward to that. Here we go. We got some members coming in. Good morning. Good morning. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. And I've asked Representative Tolver to open us up with a devotional. So, Representative Tolver.
Shall we pray? Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this morning and our ability to be here and be about the business of the state of Georgia. Lord, we just pray for guidance and leadership in all that we do, and what everything we do would be best for the betterment of the state of Georgia. In Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Good. Well, Representative Tolver, thank you very much for that, our Chairman Tolver. Anyway, first on the list is NFIB, and from what I understand, it's y'all's anniversary as well. So, Hunter, we're going to call you to open us up and introduce your guests.
All right, good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Hunter Loggins. I'm the State Director for the National Federation of Independent Business, NFIB, here in Georgia. And with me, I've got several of our members. We've got approximately 7,000 small independent business members in the state of Georgia, spanning all different industries. We are the voice of small business. We're a member-driven organization, one member, one vote. So if our members vote on something, and that means we could take a position. So it's not me, it's our members driving what we do here. I'm not going to take up too much of your time. I just want to say, I don't know if it's a coincidence, but it's a fantastic one at that, being able to present here in front of the Small Business Development Committee, because it is our Small Business Day. We'll have a bunch of our members coming up to the Capitol, meeting with you guys, meeting with their legislators, talking about the issues that impact them. And you'll hear a little bit about those issues coming up, but I do want to touch on a few things before I turn it over to our Chairman, Michael. I want to thank Chairman Chokas. He is carrying one of our main pieces of legislation this year dealing with the onerous tangible personal property tax. I spoke a lot last year about it, and we presented in front of this committee with another member, Allison Couch, who gave a very detailed explanation on what it is. It is an onerous tax on our small businesses. They pay tax on inventory and equipment and items, desks, computers, and they continue to pay every single year, even though they paid sales tax on these items. I've enjoyed working with the chairman. We are talking with the counties, trying to find a good compromise. So please keep that in mind as you progress in the session, looking to raise that exemption threshold, because currently it's at $7,500, and we think that is very antiquated, especially with inflation nowadays, because that could include a chair and 2 desks to hit that exemption threshold. So please be mindful of that. And as always, the legal climate in Georgia is just crushing our small businesses. You'll hear today on the importance of premises liability. Thank you, Representative Bell, for speaking with us last night and on the issues, starting that conversation, because it is a problem. Our small businesses can't afford any legal help. They are the legal help. They're the president, they're the CEO, they're the janitors, they're the accountants, they're the HR department. So they cannot continue to get flooded with discovery paperwork for these frivolous lawsuits that are designed to force a settlement, even if they know they could win. So please please keep us in mind this session as that sort of legislation goes through. That said, I'm going to leave some of my cards for the chairman. If you guys have any questions, I'm up here every single day. Don't hesitate to reach out and ask. But I do want to turn it over to our chairman, Michael Walker.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to be here today. And as Hunter talked about the issues and some of the concerns that small businesses have, and you know, there are a lot of them, but I want to start off by first saying, Chairman Chokas, I appreciate your help when we came down to talk to you about the tangible personal property insurance, or tax rather. That issue is, as Hunter said, is very onerous, and it takes up a lot of time. And the fact that there was no unilateral or universal type cost estimate for that. It just depended on where you were as to how much you would be charged. I myself had an experience a couple years ago in the midst of trying to do an acquisition and found out that I had a $700 lien on me in Gwinnett County that I knew nothing about. And it was as a result of the tangible personal property, where an employee just went out to a location where I get my mail and put a sticker on the door and file a tax lien saying I owed $700. And I didn't even operate the business there. It was just a mail stop. I operated the business out of my home. But in the process of trying to conduct business and grow my business, I found out I had a $700 lien against me, and I couldn't go any further until I went and paid that. So I really felt robbed. It was blackmail. I had no choice. And to be honest with you, other small businesses have the same issue with that because they don't have the ability to have an accountant or somebody else, CPA, to go and fight that or help determine what the right rate is. So I just had to go ahead and pay it. So I want to say thank you for that. Another issue, as Hunter mentioned, is the premises liability issue. And just think about it. As a small business person, you're trying to grow your business, you're trying to do things the right way, and say you go out and buy a building to house your business in and to grow your business. And then just out of nowhere, somebody that's not your customer, somebody that you never met, could maybe come there on your location late at night and conduct illegal business transactions, and that could go the wrong way, and a person end up getting killed. But that happened on your premise. You, as the owner of that property, even though you had nothing to do with it, could be found liable for that. And that's just not right. And the repercussions of that is the fact that your insurance now will go through the roof because someone was killed on your property conducting fraudulent or illegal activities. And then if you don't pay it, you can't operate business, because especially as a small business owner, if you're trying to do business, you got to show proof of insurance first before you can do anything else. And then if your rates go up 30, 40, 50%, then that money is coming out of your budget, and that's taking away working capital or whatever else you have to operate your business. And we're getting to a situation now here in the state of Georgia where insurance carriers do not want to conduct business here any longer because of all of the fraud that's going on with insurance companies and the cost with so many claims. So I would ask you guys to really take a look at the premises liability issue. Last night we held a reception to talk about this at Manuel's Tavern, and to hear his story where there was a gentleman that was killed on his property, and as a result, his insurance has gone through the roof. And even though he had nothing to do with it, the insurance company says, we're just going to settle this. But in settling it, he had to pay the cost of it. So now he has, insurance that's just through the roof, and if he doesn't pay it, he can't do business. So we would ask you guys to really take a look at that. Other issues that are facing small businesses, these are things that you've heard before, but now they're even more dire because of COVID, interest rates, and what have you. It's access to capital. Small businesses are having difficulty getting access to capital. I think here in Georgia, we talk about Georgia being the best state to do business in, and we brag on that, and rightfully so. But I think a lot of times in that we forget about the small business. A lot of times when we say Georgia is the best place to do business, we're talking about large business. Large businesses, they get tax breaks. They have access to capital. They have stockholders, everything that makes their balance sheets look good. A small business owner, he has to personally guarantee everything he gets, and then because he's a small business owner, you don't have the access to capital. Another issue that's facing them is the lack of opportunities. The state of Georgia does a lot of business with businesses, but small businesses are kind of left out of that. You got a lot of large businesses that are doing business with the state of Georgia that are vendors, but you don't have many very small businesses doing business with the state of Georgia, because right off the bat they say, well, you're a small business, you're just a one-man shop, you can't handle it. But what people do not understand is that when you're a small business owner, you do everything in your power to demonstrate your ability to handle that contract. You'll go to the end of the earth to prove your self-worth. A lot of times it's unappreciated. The governor has implemented a new program of certification for the state of Georgia to get small businesses more involved in government contracting. I would say that I think along with that needs to be a mentor-protege program, because what you have are large businesses that are still at the trough and they're getting the most of those contracts. Well, with the certification program, it is intended to reach back and get some small businesses, women-owned businesses, veteran-owned businesses, minority businesses, and bring them along. But if you don't have a mentor-protege program where some of these larger companies could have the ability to bring along a smaller company, then I don't know if the certification program would be all that successful. So I would ask you guys to think about other ways to help bring small businesses within the marketplace to do business with the state of Georgia. With that, I thank you for your time.
Cool. We've got time for a few questions. Who's number 24? Why don't you go number? What number is that? 23? Wow. How about 25? Do number 25.
Good presentation.
Thank you.
Well, a couple questions for you. When you mentioned access to capital, does that SBA, what are your issues with the access? Is it the banks that are not loaning to small businesses? And the other question I had, I know last year we passed a bill, I can't recall the bill, but it's for minority businesses, and I think the governor did sign. Are your members taking advantage of that bill that we passed last year? I can't recall that. I know the
You want
governor
me to address that real quick?
Good.
It's too soon to have that data. We do have surveys available. It just takes time for that to come in. But as soon as we have that, we could get that to you.
I'll just say as soon as that data comes in, I'll be happy to work with you guys on that and make sure that our small businesses are aware of that and taking advantage of that situation. To address your question about access to capital, I would say yes, you are correct on that. And I'll give you an example. A lot of the businesses that are lenders or SBA lenders and have the ability to do it, they kind of drag their feet on getting it done. and they'll come up with different reasons as to why you do not qualify for it and what have you, and don't make the deal. I spent 18 months trying to get an SBA loan to make an acquisition from one bank to another bank. And I will tell you, it was several situations that I found very disheartening. But the one that sticks out the most is that the broker that I was working with that was representing the seller, he recommended that I go to a particular SBA lender that was supposed to be the largest in the country to get this deal done. When I spoke to him over the telephone, talked to him about it, sent him my information, he goes, "This is a great deal, it's clean, I don't see why it's not done. We need to get this done." I'm feeling great about it. Well, what happened was a week passed, 2 weeks passed, I called him back, asked him about it. "Oh yeah, I'm working on that." He sent me a LinkedIn invite. I thought that was strange because I'd never had a person that I'm trying to do business with that I don't know to send me a LinkedIn invite. And right then I knew where it was headed. I only had two choices, and neither one of them were good. If I accepted it, I knew that was just going to confirm who I was in his mind. If I did not accept it, then he's going to say, "Well, I'm trying to get to know you. You don't want to work with me." So I accepted it. He ghosted me. Never heard from him again. Because on my LinkedIn, it has a photograph. I thought I looked pretty good on the photograph. Evidently, I didn't. But he ghosted me. Never heard from him again. I had another opportunity with another bank that was fairly large. We get it all the way through it. I get the date that we're going to close and all of that. And then at the last minute, they come up with some unattainable goals and suggestions. One of them was, well, we want the person that's running the day-to-day business that you're acquiring that's going to be there, we want them to sign on the note with you. And I'm like, well, why would I want to do that? That just usurps my authority as the owner. But they knew I wasn't going to go for that. Who would? So that's what I mean. Those are the things that you really don't hear about. Okay? I haven't told many people about it, especially the guy that sent me a LinkedIn invite, because that took me back to the days long ago, and I thought we were way beyond that. So, yeah, that's what I mean by access to capital.
Did you use the SBDC at all in your work towards getting capital?
SBDC?
Yeah, that's
Small
sponsored by small business, and I don't know what the
Small
acronym
Business Development Center, I think, out of Athens, Georgia.
Out of
No
Athens,
problem. Yeah. I only talked to him when I started running into these issues. I didn't think I would have an issue if I had a very good business plan, if the market was right, the financing was right, my background was right. Why would I need that, Because I just wanted to go in straight up and present my credentials. I called on them when I started running into those issues.
Gotcha.
And one guy I spoke with said, well, they changed the laws and put it in favor of the lending institutions to make the decision, whereas before the SBA made those decisions. And so now, with that leeway, that gives them the opportunity to do whatever they want to do now.
Gotcha. Well, I have it from a very reliable source. My wife, actually, she worked with the SBDC, and she had a pretty good track record of getting loans and helping small businesses to develop a game plan, and then targeting lending institutions that she worked with. So offline, if you want to pursue that, I'll be happy to give you some numbers.
I'd love to talk to you about it.
She did one, Innovated Senior Solutions, which was 2 registered nurses that started a senior care facility in the community, and became very, very successful in a short length of time, and ended up selling their facility to the organization that Chairman Petrie works for. So They've got a great track record, but we got some more questions. Hold on, number 29.
I just want to take up for you a little bit on this Valentine's Day. Just fixing to give your wife's phone number out to 7,000 members that all need to borrow money, so you better not tell her that till after tomorrow.
Thanks, Steve. All right. Are there any more questions? Well, cool. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have you got anyone else that's going to be speaking?
Yes, sir. Just go down the list.
Okay.
Go grab your computer.
Who's next? Pat Kramerling. Okay. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you for having us this morning. My name is Pat Kammerling. My husband and I own Ultimate Security Solutions in Peachtree Corners, Georgia. And today just happens to be the 35th anniversary of our company. So we've been doing business in Georgia for a very long time. And as you can imagine, in 35 years, we've seen a lot of issues come up. And premises liability and tort reform are two issues that have become more and more and more relevant to small business owners. You see before you for Ultimate Security Solutions, the CFO, the HR person, the payroll specialist, the admin person, the orderer of office supplies, the head janitor, the party planner. I mean, you know, I wear a lot of hats. My husband handles the sales and installation side of our business, and we have 5 employees, very, very loyal employees. We have very little turnover. We treat our employees like family. We're not some, big conglomerate that fires the people who make the most money. We encourage our employees' success because their success is our success. And what we've seen in the litigation in this state has just become so concerning. If we get sued for some irrelevant issue, we're dealing with a very large, in most cases, legal team, and they just inundate us with all kinds of paperwork and requirements. And we don't have an HR person on staff. We don't have an attorney on staff. And so every single thing costs us additional dollars because we have to go to outside counsel. And it takes my time, weeks and weeks and hours of my time that I can't be doing the functions that help our business run on a daily basis. And most of it is because they feel like if they push us hard enough that they'll force us into a settlement. So you kind of feel like there's no way to win in that environment because you've got these big law firms coming after you for most of the time, some frivolous issue. And because of the legal environment in the state of Georgia, I'm sure you've seen the not so flattering issue that we have now been named the #1 legal hellhole in the country. I mean, that's not something we ought to be proud of, and that's something we ought to figure out how to fix. Because what happens is the insurance companies will leave the state because they don't want to do business here. And when you don't have a lot of insurance companies vying for your business, then the rates go up because competition is what keeps rates low. And we don't have that here anymore. And when we do business with, if we get a proposal accepted by a large corporation, they want us, the very first thing they ask for is a copy of our general liability insurance. If we don't have it, we can't do business with them. And so every year, the cost of that goes up. So we really would love for you to look into that issue. We want Georgia to be a state that is not only good for big business, but good for small business as well.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that presentation. And I see the common theme of general liability and insurance being an issue.
Most definitely.
I know many of us have experienced those same horrors personally, and it's a difficult legal environment, and it's a difficult insurance environment. So we thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you. Are there any questions from the committee? Good, not at this time. All right, next we've got, is it Mac Williams?
May.
May. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on. May, I'm sorry. My apologies. We met earlier. I need to wear my glasses.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Good morning. I am May Whiteside Williams, a member of NFIB. I'm a new member, and I'm here to support my colleagues and other small business owners about the premise liability, and I stand here proudly to support. In the future, I'm looking to also purchase a building and house my civil engineering firm. We're third generation family-owned business. My family was born and raised in Washington, Georgia, so essentially I came home from Illinois. And I would hate to think that parking all of my vehicles, trucks, in our parking lot, and then find that we also would have to be subjected to a lawsuit in case something, like what my colleagues have mentioned, happened. And as a small business, small black business, to get hit with a big, lawsuit like that, we definitely would just probably have to, consider a different line of business, because we won't be able to afford to stay in business. And then looking forward to like our second and third generations, it's important that a law like this, the premise liability, is looked at. And I hope you support NFIB's mission for this. And then I want to hit on what Michael was talking about the minority certifications. And I will say what I've noticed here in Georgia, and I just got here, and I found out that even though a team could put you on as a minority or a disadvantaged business, they don't necessarily have to call you in for work. So now you're looking for this work to start, but you don't get this call. And I've experienced that already. And I said, is this the environment that Georgia is? I don't think so, because Georgia is one of the best places to do business. That's what I think. So with that, I'll just support what Michael was saying about, the issues. And I hope that bill and the data that we get, we can analyze that and see where we can improve upon to support small businesses. And I think small businesses, we hire for the community. We make sure that training is done. We want to get people ready for electric vehicle infrastructure. We want to train people for the future of work. So with that, I just rest. And if there's any questions for me.
Tell me a little about your Chicago and dealing with the Department of Transportation and all that sort of stuff. Just tell me about it.
Which part?
All of it, bragging.
Oh,
Huh?
which part?
Are there any questions from the committee?
All of it. If you want to brag on yourself, go for it.
Oh, well, I'll start. Okay, well, since he's okay, I'll bring it out. So, recent.
I'm proud of her, and she's being very
I'm being,
modest.
and I shouldn't be so modest, but recently, CBS 2 has pretty much brought me on as their expert civil engineer. So if anything happens with infrastructure, there's concrete spalling, there's exposed rebar, there's extensive potholes. I can talk to you about any and everything in civil engineering, anything in transportation and tolling. We were recently recognized by the Illinois Tollway for being one of their best engineering firms that signed on to the program. We're 12 years running and doing business with Illinois Tollway. I requested to be a mentor to smaller businesses coming up because I feel like I have so much to offer. But if you are looking for experts in civil engineering, I'm the person that you call, and I'll be gladly, on behalf of NFIB, be an advisory to you if you need something within that realm, or even experiences with our businesses, in doing business with the state. Of course, we still face those obstacles in getting work, but as long as we continue doing what we do, we'll be celebrating 15 years in business. I took a bet on myself 6 years out of college and started the business.
It doesn't even have to be associated with NFIB. May is a killer. She'll do whatever you need, and she's amazing.
Cool. All right, number 24.
Thank you.
Let's do 25.
Exciting.
There you go. Okay.
As a former mayor, small town, we use your services all the time. My question to Hunter is, are you engaging with cities, counties, GMA, ACCG to let them know about civil engineering, firms that could get a contract with those cities? What's your procedure on that?
Right. Thank you for the question. We don't really have a whole lot of width, so to speak. We mainly engage in state and federal issues. However, we do work closely, and especially with the governor's announcement and having the list of high needs workers and businesses available for projects of this nature. We're making sure our members get that data, but as for going directly into the counties and local municipalities, we don't have that reach, unfortunately.
All right. Well, great. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate your presentation. Well, we've got a familiar face, Stacy. Come on up, my friend.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And I'd like to thank the committee for not only what you do, but for your recognition of small business being a vital part of our economy here in Georgia. But before I give some remarks, I'd like to at least say I have one of the very best state representatives in the state of Georgia, Representative Lee Hawkins. He represents my area, and he has done us a fabulous job. So, Representative Hawkins, thank you for your service. And you too were a small business.
Yes.
Yeah. So my industry is the temporary staffing and professional recruiting industry. I have been a franchise owner of the North Georgia market for 27 years. And I guess I'm sharing more of how industry can change over time and not always for the best. We've heard reference to large businesses, large industry. Years ago, really about the time I entered into the temporary staffing business, there were a lot of what we call mom and pops on the corner. Someone would go into business, maybe they had an HR background, but they wanted to be an entrepreneur. So they would get a storefront, open a business, purchase some insurances such as workers' compensation, general liability. They'd get a payroll system together, and they would start putting people to work. And there were a lot of relationships there. Over the years, most all of your temporary staffing industry has become large Fortune 500 operations. Very few of them offer franchises like Sphurion does. Sphurion has been around technically over 70 years. It was the formation of two larger franchising companies called Interim Personnel and Norrell Staffing that was headquartered here in Atlanta. So I've watched my industry evolve, and it becomes more and more difficult to compete even as a franchise owner, especially with the fact that workers' compensation is our largest liability, but it comes into all the other types of liability that you've heard discussed today too. Our insurance is extremely expensive because I'm placing people at other client sites. I do work site inspections, I have safety standards, I work with those clients to make sure everybody I place is placed in a safe environment to work. But because I'm not there managing them myself, my premiums are much higher than what you might have in your own business where you're there managing your employees day to day. So what we see happen is if it's a cut, if it's a fracture, those go typically really well, and you can have cost containment on what that injury is going to cost. Where we run into the frivolous lawsuits often is something no one saw happen causes a neck injury or a back injury, shoulder, knee, and there's no real tie back to what actually happened. And the first thing that person typically does after they make a trip to either the ER or a clinic is they hire an attorney. And once that attorney's hired, I've lost a lot of money because I have very high deductibles. So again, as we look at liability in Georgia, I think we need to look at how easy it is for attorneys to begin representing and collecting. And it's not the employee, it's not the person that's injured that wins in the end. It's the attorney that wins. The attorney gets the money first. So I believe people should be protected on the work site. I believe we're responsible for providing safe environments, and there's clients that I have either chosen not to do business with because of their safety record, or I've exited business that once I got into it, I found that the environment was not as safe as it was originally promised. So just wanted to share that with you as you're looking at opportunities to improve things in the state of Georgia for small business.
Thank you. Cool, thank you. Common theme of tort reform. Do we have any questions?
Not a question, but one comment. I've used Stacy before, especially in a campaign a long time ago for Congress. He does a wonderful job. His business is very dynamic. He gets a hold of folks and they work well, and you're a great tribute to North Georgia. I don't think business, things like that would do very well without you. I appreciate
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And if I might add, sometimes people feel that if someone takes a position through a temporary staffing company that maybe they're going without benefits or they're not being paid as much as they should be, I'd like to share that right now our average hourly rate in Northeast Georgia is around $19 an hour if you're working through my company. Most everyone that I place is hired permanently after about 90 days with premier clients. And we like to consider ourselves maybe an access point. Maybe you don't interview well, maybe you don't have all the credentials that a company's looking for on their own, but because of our reputation, our clients will take individuals that seem to have potential, have the ability to be trained on a skill, and hire them permanently. So we like to feel like we take people that may be interviewing for a job as a challenge and help them learn how to not only better interview, but to get their foot in a door in places that they can't get themselves. So thank you, Representative Hawkins.
Okay, we've got one more question, number 13.
Over here, I just wanted to thank you because I too, my first business in the 80s, I opened my own personnel temporary agency in Boston. And we moved from temp to perm, and I share that exact sentiment. We really took a population, trained them to get a lot of jobs. So I really commend the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much.
Cool. Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you, members of the committee. Mr. Chairman, you all should have received the invite for our Small Business Day. We have a morning portion over at the Department of Ag from 10 to 11, and then we have a lunch portion from, I think, 12:30 to 2. So we'd love to have you for either or both, whenever. But we'll also be working the ropes. So hope to see all of you guys up at the Capitol. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. John, do you want to come and introduce your guest? Hannah Walker, I think you're first up. Yeah. You got it.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the committee, I'd like to introduce you to three representatives from the PEO industry, Professional Employer Organization, PEO. First, I'd like to introduce to you from my left, Hannah Walker. Hannah is my direct report at the National Association of PEOs, and she's also a lawyer. She's in town here from Texas today to help the committee understand how the industry helps. To her right immediately is Tricia Russo. I've known Tricia since I first got hired to represent the PEO industry in 2017. She is able to answer any questions that you have, and she works for a company called JustWorks. And finally, last but definitely not least, good guy Michael Kreider in here from Orlando today. He works for a company called Insperity. He used to be my direct report at NAPO. But I am excited that they're here. I really appreciate you giving them time this morning. And they're going to tell you what a PEO is, what they do, and hopefully what they don't do. And Hannah, are you going to take it on first? Thank you.
Good morning, Chairman Chokas and the members of the committee. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to be here today and talk to you about our industry, the Professional Employer Organization industry, or PEO, as we like to call it. It's quite a mouthful, so we like to shorten it to PEO. So there are over 500 PEOs currently operating in the United States, working with over 200,000 small to medium-sized businesses, employing more than 4.5 million employees. In Georgia alone, we have over 3,000 clients here, client companies that we work with that employ over 108,000 employees. And I know at this point you're thinking to yourself, that's great, but what is a PEO? And what a PEO does at our core is to really support small businesses, and we offload the administrative and HR. We provide administrative and HR services so the small business can offload those services onto us and really focus on why they got into business in the first place, which is running their business like their engineering firm or like these many other companies. We alleviate that administrative and HR burden by providing various services. And these services are very vital to small businesses, like Fortune 500 level benefits that small businesses wouldn't otherwise be able to have access to. So these are robust health offerings that include dental, vision, life insurance, short-term, long-term disability, employment assistance programs, wellness programs, pet insurance. I mean, the list goes on. And by providing these Fortune 500 level benefits to our small business clients, they're able to retain their employees, get better hires, and it really does increase employee satisfaction. Additionally, one thing that's really vital to our small business clients is help with compliance, both at the state and federal level. As you know, compliance for a small business is very burdensome, can be overwhelming. I know as an attorney, I was a PEO, a general counsel for a PEO, and just all the red tape you have to go through. So just helping them stay in compliance, making sure both they're in compliance at the state and federal level, making sure the state of Georgia gets the proper state and unemployment taxes in a proper manner and in a timely manner. I mean, that's just helpful right there for small businesses. In addition to different things like 401k retirement benefits, giving them access to 401k retirement benefits. Small businesses that partner with a PEO have more participation in retirement benefits and 401ks versus those who don't. And it's these services that we're able to provide through a co-employment relationship with our small business clients that my colleagues will dive into a little more. But before I pass off to the colleagues, I just want to drop a few more numbers on you and let you know that small business clients that partner with a PEO grow 7 to 9% faster than those who don't. They're less than 50% likely to go out of business versus those who don't partner with a PEO, and retention is 10 to 14%. Retention is 10 to 14% higher. So it really does benefit small businesses. It is at our core and our mission to support small businesses to make sure they have the tools that they need to continue doing what they love. So at this time, I just want to turn it over to my colleague Tricia and let her dive into a little bit more about our impact on small business.
Thank you, Hannah. Good morning, Chair Chokas and members of the committee. It is a pleasure to be here this morning. As John mentioned, my name is Tricia Russo. I work for a national professional employer organization called JustWorks. JustWorks partners with over 12,000 small businesses around the country, with over 1,500 of those small businesses here in Georgia. So if I may, I'd like to start with a story. A story of a very smart man I happen to know, and like all small business owners, operators, beginners of small business, starters of small businesses, he's very bright, happens to be very bright. And so years ago, this bright man was working for a company called Amazon, and he decided to leave and partner up with a couple of his buddies, also probably very bright people, to start his own company, an entrepreneur. So he tells the story. There's three of them. They're working really diligently at creating something. Excuse me. Amongst the three of them, they have $500 in the bank, their company account. So they're working to create their thing. They're also looking for investors. One day they get an investor. Oh my God, this is so great. The next day they have $1,500,000 in the bank. So big change. So they're able to dive into building, spending more time and effort building their company. So they start hiring people. And then my friend says, oh my God, payroll, compliance, workers' comp, unemployment, regulations, oh my. Hands full. Anyway, fast forward a couple years. They, again, bright people, end up selling their company to a company called Etsy. And this person says, in my next chapter, I want to help that person I was a few years ago. I want to help the entrepreneur, the small business person, so that they can do what I did, that they can grow their business. So, as you may have guessed, this man started a professional employer organization called JustWorks that I currently work for. And he said, when he created JustWorks, our mission is going to be helping entrepreneurs and small businesses grow with confidence. That is our mission, and that is something we are passionate about at JustWorks, and I'm sure other PEOs as well. But I like to tell that story because I think it really tells a lot about the industry. So how do we help businesses grow with confidence, small businesses? Where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, right? So as Hannah kind of mentioned, we become the co-employer with our small business customers. We take on employer responsibilities so that we can handle workers' comp, unemployment insurance, access to benefits, compliance. We do that, those employer responsibilities, so that those small entrepreneurs and small business owners can run, can grow, and can succeed. And where are the employees in this mix? The employees also greatly benefit, we believe, through the PEO relationship. They have access, first of all, they know that the small business owner is going to be completely compliant. Not that small business owners purposely wouldn't be, but there's a lot out there, as you know better than I do. There's a lot out there. So the employees know that we're there to help with that. They also have access to great benefits. As Hannah mentioned, it's not just health insurance. Retirement benefits are really important, especially as we age, like I am. So as Hannah mentioned, for small businesses with less than 10 employees, those businesses are 3 times greater likelihood of having their employees on a retirement plan. Because as you know, developing a 401k plan is a lot of work and time. It's not that they don't want to do it for their employees, but anyway, partnering with a PEO makes that easier. So therefore, businesses grow quicker, as I said, was our mission, and as Hannah mentioned, 7 to 9 times greater, faster they grow with a PEO. Employees are benefiting, and I would also just like to end with one additional number, as Hannah mentioned, that I think we're proud of in the industry, and that is during COVID, if a small business was partnering with a PEO, they were 58% less likely to close permanently. Why is that? It makes sense. We help them. We help them with PPP. We help them with ERTC. We help them let them know, like today, what the law is compared to tomorrow, what it's going to be. And their life changed overnight. So again, really proud of what we do to help small businesses. And I thank you for your time. And I thank you for all that you do to help small businesses in the great state of Georgia. I'd like to pass it over now to my friend and industry colleague, Michael Kreider, to talk a little bit about how PEOs are regulated around the country.
I get the fun part, the regulation part. So thank you for bearing with me. Thank you, Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Michael Kreider. I work for a PEO called Insperity. We're based in Kingwood, Texas. We are a publicly traded PEO, IRS certified PEO, accredited by a thing called ESAC. We're very proud of all those. In Georgia alone, Insperity has a district or 3 district sales offices and a service center here in Atlanta. And we service more than 1,700 small to medium-sized business clients, serving almost 11,000 worksite employees. So again, I will focus briefly on kind of what the regulation for PEOs looks like around the country as well as here in Georgia currently. So several states contain statutory recognition of PEOs. They have registration components. They recognize the rights and responsibilities for both the PEO and the clients. Of course, while each state is unique and nuanced, we'll say, many of those laws are based on the NAPIO, of which Hannah works for, Model Act. And I'll say, in fact, every state around Georgia has some comprehensive form of regulation or legislation, and a total of almost or over 40 states have comprehensive PEO regulation in place and statute. So in Georgia, there are currently some statutes that recognize PEOs, and we appreciate that. They do recognize the co-employer relationship, which Tricia mentioned. They do recognize that the PEO is an employer. However, it's somewhat limited compared to these other states, either surrounding Georgia or around the country. And again, while we certainly appreciate that there is some recognition, we think that these laws could be strengthened. We believe there could be a registration component for the PEOs in the states. This eliminates the ability for fly-by-night operations to come in and act as a PEO, distort the market, disrupt small businesses. Unfortunately, we have seen in states that have limited either PEO recognition or not clear definitions that there are entities out there that masquerade as a PEO, not only to the detriment of us, but to the businesses and everyone that uses us. So we think a registration component would be very helpful in the states. Further, we are often confused with other arrangements. The gentleman that was up here from the temp staffing, we have nothing wrong with temp staffing, but oftentimes we are conflated with them. 2 different business models, no problems, but we believe that clear definitions surrounding the difference between a PEO and a temp staffing would be beneficial. And so, while just generally we'd also think that there should be more things surrounding the rights and responsibilities, delineating, defining who's responsible for things like workers' comp, the unemployment insurance benefits like other states do. So while there's not an ask today, we just keep us in mind. If you see us down the road or you see a bill that mentions PEOs, we're happy to answer any questions. And we really thank you for your time to be able to tell you a little bit about the benefits of using a PEO. And with that, I don't know if John wants to close, but we're happy to take any questions.
Let's just find out. Do I have any questions? Good. 25. Let's do 25 first.
I'm not sure if you answered it or not, but what's the biggest obstacle in today's business climate?
I'll let one of the PEO operators talk about that.
Biggest obstacles for a PEO.
Well, I think, I mean, recognition. Certainly there are, again, the state does already recognize co-employer and PEO, but I think it comes down to issues in unemployment. We're not saying in Georgia, but in unemployment benefits, who's responsible for filing those? Workers' comp, who's responsible for securing the workers' comp benefits? Are the PEOs allowed to provide those benefits? Some states, mostly blue states, will question that, but not in Georgia. But there are questions like that. I think at the federal level, we've run into a lot of issues, as Tricia mentioned, with ERTC and being able to pass through Pass-through is a big issue, right? Being able to pass through the benefits that those small businesses deserve. You know, they see us as the PEO. These small businesses are being funneled through the PEO, but they're still small businesses at heart, right? So they deserve certain benefits and stuff that the state provides for them. We want to make sure those small businesses get those, and I think with the clarity and kind of the NAPIO Model Act, it provides that those advantages are able to go through to the small businesses that deserve them.
Number 26.
Yeah, I'll be quick. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. How many PEOs are there in Georgia? No, there's 500 or so.
So there's 3,150 that we're aware, at least 3,150 currently in Georgia that are members through NAPIO.
But in Georgia, it's hard to say without a registration component because, you know, the state doesn't know who's operating in the state, who actually is a PEO and who's something else. So again, that's why we think a registration.
I'm misstated. There's 3,150 small businesses.
There are not that many PEOs to my knowledge, but yeah.
Have our numbers, but-
500 in the United States?
Yes.
Those are all registered.
In certain states, right, there are regional PEOs that focus solely in Georgia and Alabama, so on and so forth. They may not go outside of their comfort zone and go into other states. There are national PEOs like Tricia and myself that operate in all 50 states. Some just do the Southeast, some will do. So it's really hard to tell. I would say on average in most states, there are about 200 that register in states where there are registration components. Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I've got a question, and the question I have is, y'all become co-employers. Could you kind of explain that a little bit in more detail? How does that work? Do y'all find the employee? Does the owner of the company find the employee? How does that work?
I'm going to try to make it simple and then let them lawyer this thing up, okay? I used to work for the House, and so when I worked for the House, I reported to the Speaker. Imagine co-employment for a minute, that when you go into the fiscal office and you have something to talk to Sherry about, whether it's an insurance product or your 401k or something employment related, when you step over the threshold into her office, you are now her employee for the purposes that you're in that office to discuss. When you walk back across that threshold, I'm back now working for the Speaker again. That is the simplest way I can explain co-employment. So you're technically, legally, the employment, Sherry's employment is respected under the law, and the Speaker's employment is respected under the law. But you're employed by both of them cooperatively for those separate purposes. That is what enables a PEO to offer employee benefits that you would only get at a really huge company to a really small business.
Gotcha. Thank you.
May I, Chairman? But to your point of these small businesses and do we place people? No, right? We're not temporary staffing. So there are two employers in the mix. We handle the administrative functions. They handle the business of running their business, right? So they are responsible for the hiring and firing. We certainly reserve a right, but they're responsible for that. They're responsible for running their business and ordering their supplies and the tools and whatever else. They're there to just continue to do what they do great, while we handle the compliance and unemployment and workers' comp and benefits and everything for them. So there are two, and the law already it recognizes, my gosh, it's been a morning, that there are two employers, but that's typically how it works. Yes, sir.
Well, touching on the theme that we talked about earlier and about insurance issues and workers' comp and some of the claims and so forth, that has that affected y'all's business the same way? Do y'all see an increase in workers' compensation insurance? Do y'all pass that along to the employer? How has that affected y'all industry, if at all?
You want me? Oh. Well, certainly, yes. I mean, right, all employers are affected by any kind of insurance programs that are on the rise. Fortunately, for things, again, like workers' comp and benefits, They come to us, they are a part of the PEO, so we're able to lower those rates a lot of times for those folks. As Hannah mentioned, we do have other insurance programs. I do not know the answer, but general liability, I guarantee that we provide something in there, at least with respect to EPLI, so on and so forth. But certainly being a part of a PEO helps to tamp those costs down because they're being aggregated with the many other small businesses that are under the PEO. Of course, there's certain things that we can't maintain for them, but we can certainly help them because we have relationships across the board with brokers and insurance agents and so on and so forth. So, but overall, certainly we're seeing an increase in all kinds of insurance programs, premiums.
Cool.
Around the country.
I've got one more question, and that is, what industries do y'all, what are the industries that are your customers?
Yeah, so I would say, ask one PEO and you'll get a different answer than another PEO. So it runs the gamut, really, depending on the PEO, depending, excuse me, who you market to, who your customers are, who comes to you, that kind of thing. So, small business is our focus, and each PEO might have a different niche in that market, but,
You name it, and a PEO serves it.
Yes.
I work with it. I'm talking wineries, breweries, restaurants, engineering firms, law firms. I mean, I have seen it across the board. I haven't seen one industry that's really even left out. I mean, I feel like the great thing about PEOs is they adapt to what they do best. Some like technology, they love their software technology platforms, so they focus more towards technology firms or engineering firms that really love technology, whereas other PEOs love the one-on-one contact and they like just, being right there in person, always, there to help. So they like to focus on smaller businesses that, blue-collar workers, manufacturing, things like that. So you really do see across the board, they work with all industries, so it's really wonderful.
Cool. Well, it's about that time. I want to say thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate y'all's presentation. Thank you for taking the time out of y'all's busy schedule to come join us and share your industry with us.
Pleasure having us, sir.
Thank you.
And John does a great job
Yes, he does.
representing y'all. And if there's anything that we can do or a specific issue, please share that with John, and we'll be delighted to hear it.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, guys, meeting adjourned.